Hello, world. My name is Amy Russell, and I'm just coming to you today to let you know that I've had a chance to really just reflect and wrap my head around um, the hot mess of this year. Um, in case this is dug up from like lower layers of sediment years from now, it is 2020, and hoo boy, has it been it's been a ride. It's been a roller coaster ride. Okay. We've been up the part, right? The like anxiety inducing, oh, we're going up a, and then there's the, ah, and then the, that kind of sums up my year. Um, I don't know if anyone's out there feeling this way about the roller coaster, but that's where I'm at. So as I do, probably just because of my personality, that I'm like this. Also, as a teacher, it's helpful to be reflective in your practice. And I've taken a moment to do that because, to be honest with you, I've been really bogged down and um, fighting mild depression and feeling like nothing I do is enough. And that's on me to figure that out. Like, I can't blame that on anyone else. It's just something I need to work through, and I have, and will continue to do. Um, but basically, I just wanted to share some insight that I've had after I've had a chance to process. So, um, what I do is I journal, and I identified through writing, after just looking at the last 3 weeks. I'm looking at kind of as a whole body of work and experience, um, but I'm also just kind of reflecting on what I've struggled with in the last few weeks, the first weeks of school, and I identified that I am really dealing with some perfectionism. And you know, what do I do with that? And I found this article from Everyday Health called "Beating Perfectionism," and they gave me 6 points to go off of, and it just kind of sent me on a tangent and really gave me some good, um, meaty uh, nuggets to digest. And so, um, the first one is distinguish between goals that are either realistic or unrealistic. Learn how to fail, be wrong in front of others, celebrate my mistakes, set boundaries, be yourself. So, starting with that, um, I actually spent some time and went through the realistic and unrealistic goals I had, um, that are really um, emotionally taxing, to say the least. Um, so, for my realistic goals, let's start with unrealistic, because that's what I was struggling with. So, what I wrote down: unrealistic goals, at least for me as a teacher. I mean, you might be coming from a different background. This might not apply to you, but I just felt like I had to have everything uber planned. And that is unrealistic. And so for me to beat myself up for the fact that I couldn't uber plan and stuff keeps changing, and you have to make adjustments as things go on, because some things we're doing doesn't work, and you got to be like that. You got to be flexible. So it was unrealistic of me to think, yeah, I've got to have the entire semester planned out. I'm not a college professor. I don't have one subject. I've got multiple. So it's unrealistic. I don't have to grade every day. I was putting that pressure on myself. I tend to do grading in chunks. And I was beating myself up that I wasn't doing a little bit every day, because that might make it easier. But to put that on me, to expect that I'm going to do it every day, it's unrealistic. So I needed to identify that and make peace with it, and then come up with a realistic expectation. Um, Unrealistic is to deliver daily entertaining content. Some days are just going to be meh, and I got to be okay with that. That is life. That is any career day. It's not going to be awesome, um, you know, after school special um, level stuff. There's gonna be some stuff they just need to know, and we gotta like hack through it. And so, a realistic goal for that is that I could really focus on one awesome, impactful lesson that will carry through a week. I can't win them all. And like I said, I'm teaching multiple classes. So there's days where I'm on one class and off on another. And it just, it's a rotation and I just need to be realistic about it. Um, Unrealistic goal is just to have the instant buy-in and just have relationships from the jump with my students. And that's unrealistic. Relationships take time, and building that takes time. um, I can focus realistically on connecting with my students one day at a time, and that builds. And then before we know it, halfway through the semester, we are gelling as a group, and I connect with some kids and I don't connect with others. Like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get that, or coffee, whatever. Um, so I just needed to make peace with that because I just feel frustrated and pressure that I should, be in with them a little bit better by now. It feels still kind of like I don't know everybody yet. And it's only week three. I can't know everybody yet. It was unrealistic. Okay. So this is what I was going through. I'm just being honest. Um, so what if I don't have a streamlined process or system? This year is so different. Okay. I had an unrealistic expectation that I would fall into a groove and a process or come up with a system that works for me. I am still um, grappling with that, and it changes from week to week what works and what doesn't. And I am, I was, until I really thought about it and reflected, was frustrated about it because I was like, man, I should have my flow. I should have my groove now. And I don't. And the fact is this year is so vastly different than any other year. And I'm still me. I'm a new teacher. This is year three for me. There are some teachers that have been doing this for decades, so I can't imagine the freakouts they're having. And maybe they're doing better than me. I don't know. I mean, it's everything's still in a way new to me, and things change. So what I focused on from my unrealistic goals to reframing that to more realistic things for me to focus on is that I can organize. I can be super organized and get my materials together and do the things that work for me. It might look like chaos or a hot mess from someone else's perspective, but for me, my particular way of organizing my thoughts and my ideas, um, that is something that works for me. And I will just continue to do that because that's it's not streamlined. It's not a process. It's not a system just yet. And that's got to be okay. Um, I can give myself grace. That's realistic. Not beating myself up for not having it all together. That is something that I can work on. And to be honest, that's a good lesson to teach these kids right now, is giving ourselves grace. We are all under different pressures and going through some hard stuff. And grace is going to be um, that is currency. That is like money this year. Is we're going to need to have grace for ourselves and extend that to others as well. And then another realistic goal is that I can choose to focus on what parts of teaching bring me joy. I got really bogged down. I spent a couple of pages of my journal just kind of like blah, 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 blah. Here's what's wrong. Here's my struggle. And that's not a good place for me to stay. Like, yes, I need to voice that. I need to get that out. It's toxic. Like, it's negative. Like, get that out of me. And then really think about, okay, now that I've named it, now that I've put it over here, I can stick it in a box and be like, okay, I know that that's there and I live it every day. And here's what I can do realistically is choose to focus on what parts of my job or wherever I'm at. It's not even job stuff. Like, I mean, this could translate into life, really. Um, what part of what I do every day brings me joy, and focus on that. That is where my energy needs to be. I've been spinning my wheels and feeling inadequate and just really having a struggle, and not feeling a lot of joy. And that distracts from my ability to fulfill my purpose, which is to connect with other people and teach and be a decent human being and a nice coworker and friend, and um, be awesome with my family. Like all of that, I need to focus on the things that bring me joy, because then I'm more pleasant to be around and I can be a light to other people when I have taken the time to do that. When I get too bogged down, um, there's pressure and there's stress, and that is not a good look for me. So it's a choice to focus on the things that bring me joy and not try to compare myself to other people. Like that is a fool's errand to try to do that right now, because we all are looking around thinking everyone else has their act together. And I guarantee you, if they don't, they're just really good at, making it look that way. And then they don't happen to be, you know, um, honest about like, yeah, I don't actually have it together, but thank you, that kind of thing. I do have a few people in my life that will be honest about that and be like, you know what, I don't. And I love that. I need that real. I need that heavy, deep and real. Um, so having thought about that and processed that from my list of like how to beat perfectionism. So this is just number one for that list. So now that I've looked at unrealistic expectations and then kind of like culled it down to what I can then do realistically, um, I have a plan. So there's this thing called the STAR method, which is something we use in like not socioeconomic learning, social emotional learning stuff is really getting down to the basics. When you start to feel stress, when you start to feel these things that are negative and start to eat you up and keep you up at night, or even just in that moment of you do feel that fight or flight, you're like your heart rate has elevated. You are internally freaking out. I like to use the analogy of a little duck on the water. They just look so still and calm on their little pond. But if you were to look under the water and see their little feet, they're like keeping themselves afloat, right? So on the surface, we're all ducks, right? But then internally, our little duck legs are keeping us afloat, and it's an effort. And some of us are better at appearing to be calm on the surface than others. So my plan to address my unrealistic goals with my realistic goals is to just give myself that moment to stop, take a breath, and relax. Star. Um, and then just don't get bogged down on the mandates and the demands, and it's not the end all be all. The fact is I'm only going to get done in my 24 hours what I can get done, and that's got to be good enough. And um I've got to be gentle with myself, because if I am the worst taskmaster for me, I'm going to burn out from myself. Like it's like a own worst enemy kind of thing. It's not a good place to be. So that's my personal struggle. Some people are better at like being able to handle that stuff, and I'm not. I get bogged down initially, but then when I get a chance or I make the time is what I did today. I really felt like it's been persistent over weeks where I was really struggling, going, what am I doing? Why am I here? What did I get myself into? Which I'm sure in education right now, everyone, even seasoned veterans, administrators, everyone is going, what is happening? What are we doing? I don't know that I want to do this anymore. And this is me being honest. And I'm not saying I want to quit or anything, but I have those fleeting moments where I'm just like, I don't know that I got another year in me. And I was saying that to myself over and over. And for my, um, for my story, some of you may know, but I went back to school later and pursued education on purpose. This is not a fallback career for me. I did this on purpose. I set into a goal years ago and just went at it until I got it. And then I ended up getting a like bomb job. It's amazing. I just like I'm at the best school in the state. The scholars I get to interact with every day is like they're just they make it worth it to get up every day and go do this thing that I'm struggling with, right? They are why I do this, and I have to remember that, and not get lost in the minutia of all of the rules and all of the this and the that and the restrictions and the here do these three types of instruction methods with all these like juggling who's here on what day and all that stuff. Like that's coming online. I'm getting into a groove with knowing that now. But like it was super overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, within the first week or two. So just not letting myself get bogged down in those things and just doing what I can and knowing that we all have 24 hours a day to do what we do. And we just have to find peace with the bits that we can't do. So let me go back to my list. So I just outlined realistic and unrealistic goals. Um, Second is learning how to fail. Okay, sorry, had a little interruption. Um, so back to my list about beating perfectionism. Number two, excuse me, learning how to fail. Um, as a human being, I'm really good at that. And as a teacher, I have at least one fail every day. I'm not winning, but the overall game I'm winning. But the daily little bits, I have some failure that I have to confront every day, and it's just pushing through those heavy feelings of shame, um, and living with that. And when you learn how to fail, then you know where the baseline is, and you know what you can grow from after that. So if you never fail, if you never have any struggles, like how are you going to ever confront those ugly, gross feelings that we don't like shame and feeling inadequate, right? So learning how to fail is a great way to beat perfectionism because that's something that we perfectionists try to avoid at all costs. Is like, oh no failure here, no. Number three, be wrong in front of others. What I wrote in response to that is just it helps to build resilience. Um, when you make a mistake or just say something that's off, or maybe you're processing some information and you like, throw something out there that's kind of like, whoa, you know, being wrong in front of others allows you to um, develop resilience and openness and tolerance and just talk things through. So it also kind of helps form what you stand for. Like if you say something and it's kind of wrong, people get the opportunity to like talk you through that, and you can maybe either make adjustments or change your mind, or you know being wrong in front of others is helpful to experience because it's something that's going to help you beat perfectionism. Uh, Number four, celebrate my mistakes. I always look for what I've learned. What have I learned from this mistake? Um, I go through process, of course. There's the initial like I am angry at myself for making the mistake and then going through the pain of whatever the consequence of that mistake is. But then ultimately, I take a step back and I just try to figure out what can I learn from this. But then in my profession, I can turn that around and think about what can I teach from this. Um, excuse me. Number five, set boundaries. Make rules that protect and allow for growth. Restrict distractions that feed inadequacy. This is what I wrote in response to that. So by setting boundaries, making rules that protect, it's the things you put around yourself to keep you from falling into a spiral of feeling like you're not enough, or, you know, letting depression touch you. Like, you don't have to let that get their claws in you. Um, so when you put things around you that restrict the access to those feelings um, of inadequacy, you're going to feel stronger, and you're going to conduct yourself with more boldness. And when you protect yourself, it gives you opportunity to grow. Because if you are being attacked all the time, I mean, not necessarily physically or whatever, but you could be emotionally, like, just raw all the time, which doesn't allow you to grow because you're just surviving, right? Um, so setting boundaries is huge. Um, and then number 6, be yourself. Lock into what makes you unique and worthwhile as a human being. Um, and I wrote that, hey, I bring new things to the table with my perspective and energy and purpose that is different than other people. And everyone has that to contribute. And I have a place at the table, not just at work, but I have that with friends and family. Like, I mean, we all have worthwhile things that we are here to um, just be and embody and bring into the world. So that was my sort of breakdown of this helpful thing. It just kind of helped get me into a mode to really just pour this out. Um, so my note to myself was that you can only do what you do from day to day. Don't look too far ahead. Um, not that I'm saying, like, discounting that you shouldn't have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, or like have a 401k or something. I'm talking about for me right now, in my experience as a teacher, as a parent of children in different walks of life. Right now, I've got an adult son, a adult college child that I just took to college, and then I got a fourth grader. So I mean, I need to live in the now and not only be projecting into the future. In fact, like, that can be exhausting to keep that up, to be honest. So don't look too far ahead. Just do what you can in these days. Um, and I gave myself some props for the fact that the cool thing is I actually had some prep time and used it, absolutely, to map my whole semester out for myself. I didn't get down into all of the tiny details from day to day. I don't have like every day planned, but I've got the general, like, I've got all my materials, I've got everything set up for me to use from day to day. So I just felt like, okay, I needed to remind myself of that. Um, and I just need to focus on building it as I go. And that also allows for some flexibility as well, because if something is going along and it just kind of falls flat, it gives me the, like, flexibility to adjust and go wherever the class might take me, as far as, like, maybe they're just not getting it, I need to try another way. So I outline my priorities based on the types of classes I'm teaching, and I outlined for myself, there's one that I've done 4 times. I got that on lock. I can always improve on it, but it is not my top priority. I've got one that I did last year, and I didn't really like the way I did it, because it was one of those things where I was like building it as I go, because there wasn't a lot of parameters given to me. I just kind of like made it happen. And so I at least I did all the work of getting all this stuff together, but I spent part of the summer and prep time putting that together. So it's a little more organized, but it's not my top priority. My top priority is the class I haven't done yet. This is my first time teaching it, and it is a doozy. And it requires all of my attention. And I need to remember that it's okay that this one takes top priority, because I need to give it I can't give it 100% of attention, but it gets the first of me, and then it trickles down. You have to prioritize things. And I explain how it feels here in a minute. But um, so I'm like, hey, here's my list of priorities based on how familiar I am with the materials I'm teaching. And, I wrote that I just needed to process the last few weeks of awkward and suck and new. And now I know my students. I've developed a basic routine, flow, had some moments of frustration, learned a few tricks, tried things with success, failed some. I've been real the whole time. Like, I really feel like that is something that is, some people might see it as a weakness to be like this, but I feel like it's a strength, because if I can be real with these kids and they can see what that looks like, I think it's a learning opportunity for them. I developed connections. I've survived way worse. I just needed to remind myself of that. This is not the worst. Yeah, it sucks. It's something we've never confronted before, but it is not the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. It's just not. Um, this year doesn't have to break me. I think I got into a mode where I was saying that to myself inwardly a lot, like, just like, I don't know that I can do this. And that was like it's a bad mantra to be repeating in my brain. So I had to reframe it and come up with something different. Like, this year does not have to break me. In fact, what if this year made me a better teacher than ever? Is that even possible? I think so. I really do. I don't have to look for a way out or a career shift. It wasn't in my long-term plan to get out of teaching yet. Like, because these are thoughts I've had, that maybe I'm not cut out for teaching. Maybe this is the year where I gotta, you know, peace out. And I just can't come up with a reason for why it's time to leave. It's not time to leave for me yet. But in my brain, I was like thinking of an out. And that's probably just from the sheer uncomfortableness of some of the situations we find ourselves in right now with COVID. And it just was not in my long term plan to, about face right now. I don't have to let COVID determine my future just because it's altered the status quo for now. Because guess what? It's a pandemic. It will pass at some point. I don't know how long. This might be this whole year. It might be all of next year too. I have no idea. But it will eventually pass. Like, that's how it works. It does not take over the world permanently. It's not a fixed situation. It is a temporary, yes, maybe long process, but it will pass. And I just am kind of leaning into the fact that we as a collective, and me as a person, have learned the benefit of pivoting. I know everybody's probably sick of the buzzwords like, pivot and fluid. It's a fluid situation. I mean, but there's no other word for it. I'm not mad at anyone who came up with that term. It's just like it got repeated a lot. So pivoting and fluidity. We've learned that that's not a bad thing necessarily, and that we can do it. Maybe we didn't feel like we did it well, but we did actually execute a pivot in the springtime. And then over the summer, we had a plan, and then the state did a thing, and then we had to come up with a plan B. Like, I mean, we've all along pivoted. We've had to adjust our trajectory. And then we just keep working to deliver our very best every day. And this could be any profession. It's not just in teaching. And here's the thing, I'm here on this planet to learn and process and teach and inspire and love and extend grace and be generous and just be genuine with all who I come in contact with. And if I can just remember my purpose, if I can just remember in those moments of feeling overwhelmed, because that is a word I've used a lot as well when people are asking how I am, just like overwhelmed, but not broken from it, but definitely feeling the pressure for holding this up. What did I call it? um, I was really struggling with feelings of like just like there's constant pressure and just my work follows me everywhere. It's always here. It's in my house. I can't ever escape it. Like in other times, I could compartmentalize and be like, okay, that's a school thing that stays over there, and then I get to come home and I have my, my home time, and it's like it doesn't. That is not my reality right now. It follows me everywhere, and I just was struggling with the feeling of like I don't ever feel like I'm done, like I've accomplished anything. And it's exhausting. It just is exhausting to feel on all the time. Like you gotta, I wish there was a switch to not feel like I'm on, but, and I was just struggling because I'm like, I don't even bother to do to-do lists anymore because it's just kind of a lazy Susan. If you know what those are, it's like these circle things on a little like bearing or something, and you can put your spices on it in a cabinet, or I've seen them on a table. Like you can put, if you're having like a family style meal, you can put all the different like sauces and butter and stuff like that in the middle, and you can rotate it. So, but it just felt like I was operating under a like lazy Susan of life and have to and job stuff and kid stuff and everything. Excuse me, it just would just keep spinning, and I'd like grab something to do, and then it would come back around, and I'm like, oh no, I got this other thing I have to do. So it would just like constant demands and requirements, and just kind of spinning around and never feeling like I arrived. And so, I was struggling with the thoughts of like, I just thought by now I would feel like I had my act together, and I don't, and was really frustrated. And so it led me into really unpacking all of these feelings and struggles, and just felt like my insight was helpful enough to me to give me a fresh breath of air and some peace. I really have felt kind of tumultuous within the last few weeks. And just wanted to address all of that and just kind of share that. I don't know who I'm going to share this with, but boy, I've been talking for about 30 minutes. So, anyway, I hope this gives you something to think about and chew on and work on with yourself. And if anything, you could compare yourself to me and be like, I'm up here. Like, what's she doing? Who gave her the keys? But I think we all can benefit on just being honest and looking at our struggles in the face and trying to um, move on and work through, and not just push it down, because I feel like that's a tendency for a lot of us, just to get through whatever, but then that strips us of our purpose and feelings of joy in those moments. So like, sure, have a pity party, pack yourself a bag, go on your guilt trip, but come back, right? Like don't stay there. Yeah, like, feel sorry for yourself, call the ambulance, right? But come back and center yourself and find your purpose, and redefine how this year can be. The potential is there for it to be game changing for so many different ways. Um, So that's me being just cockeyed optimist. That's how I roll, and I'm not going to apologize for that. So this just helps me process things, to write about it, really think about the different dimensions, and piece it together and put it together. So I'm going to stop talking because I feel like I've delivered a lecture. I don't know. This is like psychology and career, and I mean, there's all kinds of buzzwords, hashtags I can put on this, but um, I felt like it was a moment in time I needed to capture. So I hope this helps. I hope you have an awesome day, and an awesome week, and an awesome life. Keep at it. Don't give up.